Welcome back. All right, so if this is the 2023 version of Neverending Story, it's not a very good remake or reboot, but the Ottawa Senators sale continues to be a storyline. At least Bruce Garriock, who's done really good reporting on this, has stopped saying the owner should be in place by the end of the week. I have no doubt that he has sources close to the process, and also he's been proven right with a number of things, including the fact that people are getting frustrated with the process, including that, DeBrincat, who also looks at this process, says, I kind of think I want out. And so this is negatively impacting the team. Now, we have to go all the way back to March 28th of last year. Eugene Melnyk passes away. And when he passes away, immediately the questions became, all right, so what's going to happen with ownership? So it transfers to his daughters. And eventually it becomes clear that they're going to sell it. So November 7th of last year, the team officially is up for sale. So far, so good. Not a problem. The Ottawa Senators running pretty well as a team, and financials are looking pretty good. Attendance is the best it's been in quite some time. And so, yeah, I mean, Ottawa in general, things look pretty good. And the ownership process keeps building up and building up. And Ryan Reynolds was part of one of the groups, of course, and Snoop Dogg's part of a group that's still technically in the running for the ownership of the team. But where things start to kind of fall apart is that Ryan Reynolds and the Remington Group wanted a 30-day window where they could talk with the city about, a new building and what the plan could be, and they were told, no, you cannot. So what's happened in this, and I kind of understand where they're coming from. Clearly, you wouldn't want to set up something where the Remington Group and Ryan Reynolds was being given preferential treatment above and beyond everybody else, but you push them out. And so they're like, all right, well, we'll walk then. Because again, if you're going to go through this bidding process, you want to make sure that when you finish the bidding and you win the team, that it's going to work out. And so that's something I totally understand the Remington Group saying we want this, right? Now, May 15th was the deadline for the final submissions. We had four final submissions, and that's where the money is, right? This is where we are absolutely 100% willing to buy this team. So 4 bids came in. But today, June 9th, so remember, the bids finalized May 15th. It's now June the 9th. We're still in this process. It's been 4 weeks. This is ridiculous. So Toronto billionaire Steve Apostopoulos walks away in frustration today. It's had enough. It's just taking too long. It's had enough. Now, his bid was believed to be the favorite and to be above $1 billion. The only bid above $1 billion. So what has happened here is essentially the Senators will sell for less money than they could have because this process has dragged on too long. Kyprios apparently had been acting as an advisor for this bid and might have had a position within Ottawa's management should that bid have won. But that bid being pulled leaves 3 bids in there. 2 of them are very likely to get the win. But again, neither of them have been in that $1 billion range. So at the very least, this process has cost the Senators money from what they could have made. Because the Ryan Reynolds Remington Group bid was up above the $1 billion mark too. It was believed to be around that $1 billion mark. And like when he sold Mint Mobile, there was some speculation that maybe he sells his mobile company, gets some more cash, some more capital he can put in, that kind of thing. So the 3 finalists now, Michael Andlauer, who may add investors. How ridiculous is this? That we are now almost a full month past the final date for that final bid, and they might still be adding investors. There was a lot of jokes about Nico Sparks looking for money, but Michael Andlauer trying to push his bid up too, and it's believed to be around $900 million. Now, whether he might feel less pressure to do that now that a Toronto billionaire has stepped out. He has also, got a lot of experience with the NHL, has worked with the Montreal Canadiens organization in a role at the Board of Governors level. So Andlauer has good reason to be confident that his bid will probably win out. Jeffrey and Michael Kimmel, joint bid together. Their bid's believed to be higher than Andlauer's, but still below that $1 billion mark. So we're probably looking at about $950 million. $950 million is thought to be the bid too for Nico Sparks, but it's kind of underfunded. So again, There's a lot of names attached to the Nico Sparks bid, and it's seen that it's that way because he doesn't really have the money himself to do all this, so he needs to bring in more investors, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but the NHL does tend to prefer, somebody who's got the really deep pockets themselves to be the owner, and Michael Andlauer would be the one, I would think, that ends up getting the win on this, but that was the speculation about a month ago, that he was the favorite. It was likely he was going to be the one that won. Now, it's possible that the league may very well be fine with Andlauer, and that might be the one that they'd prefer. But there's been a lot of talk about the New York-based banker, and it always gets shortened down to GSP, Galasciotto Sports Partners. And I forgot the T in here. I was so worried about Galasciotto and whether or not I was spelling that right. All right, I'll just throw the T in there. Sports Partners, not partners, partners. And the Melnick estate are negotiating the team sale. And there's been a lot of talk about whether the GSP group is what's holding this up. And there's been rumblings, definitely, that, this process, they're just making them go back and forth to try to goose the bid and try to get the bid up. But now it appears they've cost themselves some money out of this. Because, I mean, if the difference is $50 million or $100 million, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that doesn't end up coming through. And then the other side, the other part of this too that apparently may complicate the sale is that a lot of his estate was based in Barbados. So in order to make that sale in Canada for the Ottawa Senators, there's a lot of extra paperwork because of Canadian taxes. And so that's going to make it take longer. And even after they make their pick from here, it's thought that it'll be a little while before we hear who gets it. Because not just because of this paperwork, but other red tape that has to be cleared up before you have the new owner of the Ottawa Senators. The biggest problem is this is going to affect the on-ice product if this drags on much longer. We are 3 weeks. 3 weeks from tomorrow is the start of free agency. If you're a free agent and you've got teams giving you offers, and in the event that DeBrincat ends up going, and if Ottawa doesn't take any money back in the DeBrincat trade, let's just say he goes to Columbus. Sure, he goes to Columbus, and you end up getting back draft picks instead, and you take that money for DeBrincat, and you're going to use it on the market. If you're a free agent and Ottawa's offering you, say, the same amount of money as Montreal, you have a choice between Ottawa and Montreal. I think Montreal probably gets the edge there, even though Montreal's seen as still being in a rebuild and not being as close to the playoffs as Ottawa potentially is, because there is that cloud over the organization of, so what's going to happen with the owner? Pierre Dorian saying that the team's going to be at the cap next year and they're going to keep spending money is fine, and that may be the case. But a new owner can still step in and say, wait a minute, I'm looking at the books here. I think we can make more money. I want to see that payroll get cut. So that's part of the reason why players would be a little hesitant, because you never know. We've seen where an owner who's a little bit cheap ends up kind of wrecking it when it comes to holding on to players or adding new players. And so there might be some trepidation if you're a free agent, might be some trepidation if you're looking to re-sign with the team. So the notable restricted free agents right now are DeBrincat, Pinto, Brandstrom. Those are the three bigger ones. They've got other ones as well. But Pinto had a very good season last year. Definitely deserves, I think, a long-term contract. I'd say 4 or 5 years. I wouldn't go with 8, but that's just me. It'll probably be 8. Every contract's 8 years now. DeBrincat wants that long-term stability, both in his paycheck and with where he is. So he's going to want 8 years, right? And Brandstrom, solid defenseman, good upside, probably gets a bridge deal. But again, will players want to sign? Their UFA list, we know Talbot's out. Hamonic, Watson, probably out. And then if you look ahead a year, next year, Jake Sanderson's a restricted free agent. So if I'm Pierre Dorian, July 1st, when I'm able to negotiate those contracts for the following year, I'm sitting down with Jake Sanderson's agent and trying to work on an extension immediately, because I think Sanderson is the future on that blue line. But it is difficult to make those decisions and have those negotiations go through when you don't know who the owner's going to be. You don't know what the plan is about a building. Is it going to be downtown? Are you going to get one in LeBreton Flats? Will the new owner decide to try to fix up the building they have and make it work where they are? And we just don't know. The Ottawa Senators right now, and it leaves Bruce Garriock out there just kind of looking, and I get it. people are not happy with some of his reporting because, oh, this isn't true. And every time he posts and says, this week the Senators will have a new owner, there's some guffaws. And I get it. I do think he's being given that information of, well, this week has to be the week. And then it isn't. This was going to be the week as well. It's not. So we'll see if that changes soon. Who knows? Maybe I just need to make a video on it and we'll suddenly have a new owner of the Senators this afternoon. Maybe it happens this afternoon. And if it does, I would like to say to Senators fans, you're welcome. But I don't see that. I think this process. Remember, before game one, what did Bettman say? We're weeks away from an owner. And I think hearing that, it may very well have been when Steve Apostopoulos, maybe he got on the phone right away and said, what the hell's this about it taking weeks? I mean, it's going to be weeks. I'm not waiting weeks. This is ridiculous. Because again, this process started in November of last year. It needed to be fixed and figured out quickly, and it's not. So it would appear that drawing this process out has cost Ottawa some money. And if it's drawn out much further, it is going to hurt the on-ice product. It is going to hurt their chances of getting into the playoffs next season, which would, I think, start to affect fan sentiment and a real belief in the team. They need to get this upswing, in gear and keep her going and get into the playoffs next year to show the fans, hey, we have a plan here and look, it's working out. Otherwise, you risk fans saying, you know what, it's the same old, this team's never going to be any good. So that's the tricky part there, and we'll see how they navigate it. So let me know your thoughts. Which bid do you think is going to end up winning? And how do you think this all ends up turning out? Because again, I would think that a bid backing out, especially a really big bid like this one backing out, would put the heat on GSP and on the Melnyk estate to get this straightened out and done as soon as possible, because you don't want to have one of the other bidders backing out. You can't have that. So we'll see what happens. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.